Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. So, guys, I've seen a lot of comments online on Facebook, on Twitter, on my YouTube channel, criticizing Andrade, for the fact that they felt like his career's been wasted. His decision making has been very poor. A lot of people criticizing him for chasing Canelo Alvarez. But I'm gonna defend Andrade a little bit in this video. Look, I think Andrade was a very good fight. I think Andrade is a wasted talent. I do. I think he hasn't really shown us how good he was. And I know a lot of you guys criticize him and say, "Oh, he's no good and he's ducking this, that." I couldn't care less. But the fact of the matter is that Andrade is an example of why boxing, for me, at times can be a horrible sport where we don't really get to find out. I think there's very few sports where we don't get to find out how good someone is that's really talented. I think this has been an example of a career that over the last 10 years, what we see fighters like this. People over here could say that about Billy Joe, that Billy Joe was a very talented fighter, and unfortunately, just, lack of work ethic, lack of desire, hunger, resulted in him really not really achieving, what he should have achieved. He's an underachiever. Andre's definitely an underachiever, maybe because of boxing politics or whatever you want to say, just not being able to land the big fights. Some maybe fault of his own, some not fault of his own. But at the end of the day, we as boxing fans never really got to find out how good Andrade was, and it's a shame. Like, look, I think now, even if we do, I think the career won't look back at well at Andrade, because I think Andrade is kind of slipping on the other side. And if Andrade was to lose against a big guy now, everyone's going to say, well, he was always overrated. He never fought anybody, and when he did, he got beaten up. So Andrade is kind of in a very difficult spot right now, where if he was to fight a top guy at this point, where I think he's more vulnerable and he's not as good as what he used to be, I think if he gets beat, people will say, well, Andrade wasn't that good anyway. He was fighting a load of no-hopers for majority of his career. That's what a lot of people are going to say. So for me, Andrade's in a spot now where it's kind of like, when he does eventually get his big fight, he's going to have to perform, because if he doesn't, firstly, he's going to be put to one side. The other thing is that people will just say that he was never that good, because he's never really fought anybody, and he's been fighting a lot of low level. Majority of his career, or all of his career, has been fighting, second string guys, for majority of his career. Even his world title fights, you can't even remember who he's won his world title fights from. Like, I know he fought Cotton Dokwa, and you can't even remember his world title fights. Like, there'll be fighters out there that you'll remember their world title fights. This guy has fought at world title fights against guys that are just never unified, never fought another champion. We're talking about over a decade plus career, never fought another champion. And that is a sorry state of affairs, and that's not good for boxing. It's quite a damn shame that a guy of his ability never fought another champion. And listen, not all of it are his own fault. I do think that, so you have to place some blame on him, irrespective of the fact that there has been a bit of ducking of fighters not fighting him. But there has to be some blame in a decade-year career. Someone's got something horribly wrong. And he's tried everything. He went with Eddie Hearn, thinking that Eddie Hearn, let's be honest, Eddie Hearn delivers. Majority of the time, Eddie Hearn delivers for his fighters. He delivered for Callum Smith, delivered for Billy Joe. Yeah, they were in a perfect spot. They were in a great situation for him to deliver for them. But nonetheless, Andrade just seems like he can't catch a break, really, and he can't get a big fight. Now, the chances are, if he does leave Eddie Hearn, which I expect him to as well, because let's be honest, Eddie Hearn's not in the Andrade business. Eddie Hearn's not in the Andrade business. Eddie Hearn's in the Canelo business. Eddie Hearn's there to basically promote Canelo. And if Canelo Alvarez has no interest in him, Eddie Hearn doesn't care about Andrade. Andrade doesn't move the needle at all. Andrade's not a star. Andrade's not somebody that's moving the needle. So why does Eddie Hearn care about Andrade? But what I wanted to talk about is the fact that Demetrius Andrade, a lot of people say Demetrius Andrade wasted his career by chasing Canelo Alvarez. To a point, yes. But again, he was chasing to fight the best. He was chasing somebody that is the best. You can't knock that. He's not chasing somebody that's, not the best. He's chasing somebody that's the best. And he's chasing somebody that if you fight him, you're going to get a huge payday. And also if you beat him, which I think Andrade was confident that he beats Canelo. Not like you guys might not think that. I don't think that he would have beaten him. But he thought deep down that his style was all wrong for Canelo. Same thing with Khan and Mayweather. Khan more so because Khan, when he was chasing Mayweather, I didn't think he'd beat Mayweather. But he thought his style was wrong for Mayweather. But Khan was in a great spot financially. Khan had already made a lot of money. He wasn't like Andrade. Andrade's made a lot of money now as well. So Andrade doesn't need Canelo now in terms of financially, in the sense that Andrade's made a lot of money in Eddie Hearn pays well. I'm not saying he would have made crazy money, but he's made good money where, he's sorted for life. Now, for Andrade, I think he's secure financially. Of course, having big fights will, secure him even further. But for me now, it's more about legacy for Andrade. It's more about, getting those big fights, because Andrade got paid well fighting under Hearn. And he's been under Hearn for a while. Hearn pays well. Hearn would have overpaid Andrade as well. Because if you remember, when they launched DAZN, Hearn was looking for American names. Right? So he was paying over the odds. He was looking for big names or names that are relevant in the American market. Even though Andrade wasn't a big star, Andrade was a name and a good fighter that people valued or respected in America. I do think Andrade's value has dropped in terms of the boxing fans' eyes over the years, because the competition has been so poor, fans have just got frustrated. But Eddie Hearn would have paid Andrade over the odds initially, to get him to come with him. So Andrade would have benefited from that. Andrade would have made a lot of money from that. So Andrade financially I think is financially very well. I think now it comes down to the fact that, for me, it comes down to Andrade wants the big fights. He wants the big legacy-defining fights for his career. And is he going to get those fights? I'm not sure. So Andrade chasing Canelo was never a bad thing, because Andrade was chasing the best guy. You can't shame somebody for wanting to fight the best. Because there's many guys that got Canelo fights, and got that payday, like Rocky Fielding, Yildirim, who didn't deserve to fight Canelo, but they got those fights. Andrade was more deserving than some fighters that fought Canelo. But the point I'm making, I don't think Andrade chasing Canelo is a wrong thing. That's a good thing. Everyone should be chasing the best. Everyone is chasing Canelo because they know it's a big payday, and it's also a legacy-defining fight for someone like Andrade or Charlo, because they're fighting somebody. If they beat him, they change their whole life. They change their whole life. People view them differently after that. In the boxing world, if Andrade was to beat Canelo, he'd be viewed differently. So why wouldn't you want to take that opportunity? Everyone wants that opportunity to fight Canelo Alvarez. It's not just a payday. It's the fact that you change your life. The way people will view you in boxing is completely different if you were to beat someone like Canelo. So of course Andrade wanted that fight. Of course Andrade wanted to fight Canelo. Who wouldn't? So I don't think Andrade chasing Canelo ruined his career. I actually think it helped him in a way, because it helped him increase his profile. It helped his name get out there, because Canelo's a superstar. So it actually helped Andrade in ways. I just felt like the problem is with Andrade, it's not just the Canelo situation. It's just the fact that he never got any big fight. Like when he did get a big fight with Billy Joe, which was signed, Billy Joe ended up, testing positive for some kind of PED or some kind of performance enhancing, whatever. And, he got, that fight never happened. So Andrade's been struck with a lot of bad luck throughout his career. Because let's be honest, that would have been his defining fight. And that would have been, and after that, if Andrade had beaten Billy Joe, who knows where Andrade would be right now? If that fight had happened and Andrade had beaten Billy Joe, Andrade's career may have been different. Andrade's career may have been different after that. And this is where I feel like sad for Andrade, because that, for me, would have been the changing of his career. If Andrade had done a job on Billy Joe at that point, Andrade's career may have been different right now. Because then Andrade would have beaten someone that was legit, and Andrade was fighting. He was fighting a champion. Billy Joe was a champion. You know, his profile might have gone through. Listen, maybe it wouldn't have done. Maybe it wouldn't have made no difference. Maybe it would have made no difference whatsoever to Andrade's career. But that's just what it is. But I want to go on to a second part of this video that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Amir Khan and what Ben Shalom is saying about Amir Khan. Ben Shalom has said that Amir Khan is looking to take up a tune-up fight, and I heard these rumors way before they've actually been you know, brought out to the media. Someone actually messaged me on Instagram like weeks ago, actually, mentioning me that Khan looks like he's going to take up a tune-up fight and then go into a fight with Kell Brook again. Kell Brook's also in talks with fighting Chris Eubank. I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of Amir Khan fighting on. I feel like the Brook fight showed us where he was at. I feel like there's no way Amir Khan can bring that back the glory days. Like, Kell Brook's nowhere near world level at this point in his career, and he totally beat Amir Khan so easily. So I don't quite understand. So that just lets you know where Amir Khan is in his career. You know, it wasn't a very competitive fight. I don't think it's a fight that's going to sell. I was speaking to my dad yesterday, and he was saying that I don't think that fight's going to... I don't think anyone's going to be interested in it. Who's going to be interested in watching that fight? And he's right. No one is going to really be interested in that fight, because it's not really an interesting fight, is it? It's not a fight which people will care about, because they saw how it played out. They saw one guy was totally past his best. So how is that fight going to sell out next time? I don't think so, personally, but you know, who knows? We said that about the first fight, but the first fight there was intrigue. We didn't know what was going to happen. There was so much beef between these two, back and forth, so we didn't know how it was going to play out. So that was the intrigue, the beef. But now we've seen how it played out, and the fans, some of the fans actually said to me they felt ripped off. They felt ripped off because they never got to see this in its prime, and Amir Khan was totally past his best. So some fans felt ripped off. In my opinion, obviously I've said what I think should happen, but at the end of the day, if Amir Khan is insistent on fighting on, then, you know, that's probably the right thing to do. But I'm worried about who's the tune-up fight going to be, and he may lose the tune-up fight. From what we saw in the Brook fight, if it is someone like a Granados, for example, what's to say he's going to win that fight against someone like Granados? Because Granados showed against Ben that he's not a bad operator. And I don't think at this point, someone like Granados is a tough guy. Amir Khan's not going to stop him. If that's a 12-round fight, how is Amir Khan firstly going to go 12 rounds? And he looks so vulnerable at this point. Can he even take punishment from... I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, even the tune-up fight would have to be a serious tune-up fight. Because even like a fighter that Amir Khan would have battered in his prime, or even like when he fought Samuel Vargas, like at this point, I think the Samuel Vargas that fought Amir Khan probably beats Amir Khan, the one that fought Kell Brook. Because, like, you got to realize, when he fought Samuel Vargas, that was 3-4 years ago, right? That was 3-4 years ago. 4 years ago, possibly. Because I reckon he fought Vargas in 2018. And he fought Crawford in 2019, I believe. Right? So that was 4 years ago. And people thought Amir Khan was past his best then, in 2014. So... this doesn't, to me personally, I just don't see how Amir Khan can, like, he's never going to be in his prime. He's never going to be at his peak. But how can he even get some of his speed and you know, foot speed back for him to be competitive? Because that's what made him the fighter he was. I don't feel those are things that can just come back. I feel like once you've lost that, you've lost it. I don't feel like you can become quicker or sharpen up your leg. I think once those things disappear, they disappear. I just don't think those things can come back. But that's just my opinion. Like, when have you ever seen a fighter that was a very athletically gifted fighter that had very fast feet, very fast hands, but he looks a shadow of himself and looks like he's lost his legs, lost his hand speed, or not lost it, but nowhere near the same level of hand speed he once had. When have you seen them all of a sudden bring that back? You haven't. Like, even when he fought Billy Dib, a guy that was undersized, Amir Khan didn't look great in that fight. Amir Khan would have wiped Billy Dib out in a round in his prime. Right? And that fight went 5 rounds, and he didn't look convincing to me in that fight. And that, like I said, those fights were a long time ago. Against Brook, he looked totally, like, just, you couldn't even tell it was him that was fighting. That's how badly past it he looked. So, I don't see what a tune-up fight is going to do for him, right? It may actually make things worse, but at the end of the day, like, I just don't think they'd be able to sell the second fight on what we saw in the first fight without him taking a fight. And what may happen, I feel like Sky Sports are kind of like the term, flogging a dead horse, in the sense that what they may do is get Kell Brook to fight Eubank. Eubank will beat Kell Brook, right? And then they'll flog a dead horse, in the sense Amir Khan will get a win in his tune-up fight, and then they might make Amir Khan and Kell Brook again. That way, Kell Brook he got a payday against Khan. He gets another big payday against against Eubank, and then he gets another decent payday against Amir Khan. And the fight, because of the fact that Kell Brook would have got beaten to Eubank, depending on how he gets beat, because I don't see him beating Chris Eubank, and then Amir Khan gets a win in his tune-up fight, they'll probably sell it as a fight that's going to be more competitive, because Kell's just lost, his confidence will be down. Maybe he takes a battering from Eubank, so the fight becomes more... But I still, like I said, I don't understand it. I don't understand why... Like Johnny Nelson said, hit the nail on the head, that Kell Brook should walk away, and he said that Amir Khan didn't have it anymore. You could see that, they had Crawford come over, Bomac come over, and he just didn't have it. He had the best training possible. They were saying all the right things, but they just didn't have it, He didn't seem to have it. Forget about, I thought the stuff about the Crawford approval and draw, that's rubbish. The fact is that Amir Khan just didn't have it. It doesn't matter who trains him at this point. He's, I don't think Crawford or Bromac is would they train him? Yeah, maybe for a few, Bromac may train him. I don't think they will, because they clearly saw that this is a guy that's way past his best. And at this point, no matter who trains Amir Khan, it's not going to make a difference, because they were training hard over there. They were Amir Khan was training hard under Bomac. So it's not like they didn't put in the work. They put in the work. It's just, when you're not the same fighter, you're not the same fighter. It doesn't matter how much work you put in. But that's my take on it. Leave your thoughts about part 1 of the video and part 2. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.